through Pokemon Adventures. I am Sherlock.
I'm Ruby.
And together we are a father-daughter duo traveling through the Pokemon series of video games, anime, and manga. And here we have reached part 2 of our Gold and Silver adventures. Today we will be covering the next 3 chapters of Pokemon Adventures Volume 8, which are 94, 95, and 96. Elekid Incorporated, Stantler by Me, and number 1 Donphan. And number 1 Donphan. And that's right, Donphan, not Donaphan. And then we will be covering 5 episodes of the anime. They are Flower Power, Spinarak Attack, Snubble Snobbery, The Little Bighorn, and the Chikorita Rescue. But we will also be going over 2 Pikachu shorts, Winter Games and Stantler's Little Helpers. Before we get started, let's catch up a little bit on Pokemon stuff. There's not a whole lot new because we are recording this the day after we recorded last week's. Because Ruby has another trip to help out with a different Vacation Bible School in the coming week. And we're trying to get a few ahead before we start releasing them. So, there is a couple new developments though. Steel Pokemon are popping up everywhere, so catching all of them, which is great. And the Mega Lucario raid day is coming, which is exciting. I did reach my 20 kilometers for the one thing, but I think tomorrow I'll finally get the raids I need for some of the other quests. And I realized the shiny Celebi quest is what I need is to catch, I think, like 21 Pokemon. Like, I need to catch Pokemon 21 different days, which I catch Pokemon every day, but I haven't quite hit that 21 yet. So I got a ways to go there. Also, in other adventures outside of Pokemon, we played some more TMNT Splintered Fate with my brother and some of the kiddos. We reached Shredder, which was super exciting. And then the game was doing a lot of glitchy stuff, which was not as exciting. But we'll get there again, I'm sure, and we'll get stronger and better at the game, and hopefully not run into as many glitches.
Well, we beat Shredder. We didn't just reach it.
We didn't. It didn't count for us.
Oh, that's right. I did some. It glitched on me, and that's why I died.
That's why I died too. Like, everything looked like it was froze, but I kept moving my stuff because I knew that it wasn't actually frozen. But it didn't matter. I still lost too much life, and then I got hit one more time, which took me out.
But yeah, my uncle, he had like maybe half a life left, so. And
Shredder was almost down.
Yeah. And so he finishes him off, and we're like, yes! Or not, he didn't quite finish him off, did he?
Right.
He had like a sliver left.
Yeah, he had like, it was more than a sliver. It was like a little chunk of life, but we're getting down there. All of a sudden he jumped in the center and had a big like orb around him to protect him, and a bunch of baddies came out. And then your uncle took those out, and then the orb went away, and all of a sudden Shredder was even, like, he was all healthy again.
Yep, like, even a little bit stronger too, and completely healthy again.
But he still managed to win.
Yeah, that was kind of impressive.
It was super exciting. So yeah, I think that's all that's really, I mean, yeah, our VBS just finished today, so that was fun. Had a good week there. We were part of a skit team, so we had a lot of fun with that, especially you this time, since this was the day you got to be in it.
Everyone thought I was amazing.
Yes, you're a star.
Yes, I'm the star. Not you.
No. Alright. But I think we can go ahead and just dive into the episode now. And we'll start with the manga with chapter 94, Elekid Incorporated. So, we had just had Gold and Silver meet at Professor Elm's, and a whole thing happened there. And so Gold goes to get Silver, but Silver dodges and rushes out that second-story window that Gold had climbed in through. Gold and Expo, which is what he named he named the Cyndaquil that he decided to team up with to go save Totodile, who was taken improperly by Silver. Only, Gold technically took the Cyndaquil improperly just the same way. I mean, he did it to try to save the other one, but still.
Well, the professor knew this time, so.
I mean, he was present for it.
So he could have stopped it.
Like, I don't think he could. He had been knocked out or something at one point in time, did he?
Well, I guess that'd be a problem then.
Yeah. Anyway, so Gold and Expo exit and burn the branch outside like there was a tree out there, and create a ring of fire so that Silver and Sneasel can't escape. Silver starts to reach for something behind him, and it looks like a Pokedex, and Gold, wielding his pool cue, is wondering what Silver's doing, and then zap! Gold is shocked and collapses, and within the smoke and flames we see Team Rocket, who used an Elekid to shock Gold. Oh, and during this, Gold still demands his backpack from Silver, and Silver's glove caught on fire and he had to rip it off. Then Silver wonders who these people are, the Team Rocket people, and they explain that they are Team Rocket and are working on their comeback, because they were all beaten
Right.
technically 3 years ago, actually, because they hadn't quite come back with the Elite Four group. They were trying to, but it didn't work out. Team Rocket heard Gold talk about a backpack, so that explained the backpack they stole, which was the wrong one, and they are now claiming they're going to steal Elm's special Pokemon he was studying too. Cyndaquil, Totodile, and Chikorita. But Silver says he's got Totodile, and Cyndaquil is with the one they just took down. They send Elekid, and Silver uses the Pokedex to get info on that particular Pokemon, and recognizes that Totodile might not be the best suited for this battle, and sends it in, but he sends it in anyway. The Team Rocket grunt laughs, saying a Pokemon someone just stole is not going to listen, and cannot be effective in battle. Silver doesn't necessarily agree, and has Totodile use Frustration. He claims he taught it to the Pokemon right after stealing it, and that the move is more powerful the less familiar they are with their trainer. Which might be true, I don't really know. Then he utilizes Sneasel to help take down Elekid, and Team Rocket flees as they're not ready for this onslaught. But they will be back! When Gold wakes up, a police officer is wondering if he set fire to the lawn and needs him to come give a statement, and if he resists, then he will be arrested. Elm hurt his hip and went to the hospital, and his assistant went with him, and neither Joey or Elm saw the perpetrator's face, which means only Gold can help. Gold notices the burnt glove and snatches it up before leaving. Gold does a good job describing Silver's outfit and hair, which is apparently red, which we don't see because it's black and white. But then when they press him for the face, he lies and then rushes out. Gold had been offered a place to sleep at the police station, but he and Joey end up camping out in the middle of nowhere instead. Joey asks about it and mentions the picture, and Gold admits it is a fake because he wants to get Silver and get his backpack back. Then Joey wonders why so much is happening so fast, and someone steps into frame and says, "It is because fate is on the move. It is Professor Oak, and he has a Stantler and Ladybug with him." Gold says he doesn't need Oak's help, but Oak wants something from Gold and asks if Silver had something like, quote-unquote, this, and reveals a Pokedex that is unfolding and has a little cell phone antenna as well. This is the new kind of Pokedex that Oak was building, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And the one that we have in the game then, because it's also very different.
I mean, it makes sense.
Then we move on to Stantler by Me. It is Oak's newest Pokedex design, and Gold is pretty sure whatever Silver was hiding did look something like it. Oak says he only made 3, just like he had with the other Pokedexes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And recently, one went missing, and so Silver probably stole it, just like he took the Totodile. Oak explains it was stolen from the same place where he had given Joey his task, which is his secondary research center outside of Cherry Grove. Joey explains that Oak is from Pallet Town in Kanto, and he comes to Johto to do some research and his radio show, and that his granddaughter, Daisy, house sits. So, Gary's sister.
Daisy Houseit?
Yeah, she...
Is that her name?
No, she's a house sitter. She's
Oh,
like baby
house sits.
Yeah, she
I know
house
what a
sits.
house sitter
Babysits,
is.
house sits. Yeah. Gold asks if there's anything the Pokedex is useful for, and there is. And so after trying to sidetrack to DJ Mary, he tells Oak that he wants one of those 3 Pokedexes. In fact, he demands one. Oak says they are for his research, and he's only got the 2 left, and Gold explains he needs it for Oak because he plans on going after the one who took the missing Pokedex. So he really wants one, and he quickly, has all the reasons in the world to legitimize his demands. Sound like anyone else, you know? It sounds like my eldest son. Oak will not give it to him, and mentions that he only gives them to trainers he trusts and have character and skill. Gold only hears skill. He didn't hear all the rest of it. and has Abo attack Oak's Pokemon. Oak wins and explains he wouldn't have given it to him even if he had won. Gold says that it is stupid and nobody could use the thing better than him, and Oak says Gold just confirmed that he is certainly not ready for a Pokedex, because it is just a tool for battling for him. So Gold throws a hissy fit and says he doesn't want one anyway and doesn't need one. Yeah, whatever, you obviously wanted one. We then see Gold training his Pokemon, but with running and squat jumps and stuff, and Joey thinks this isn't what the Pokemon community usually means by training Pokemon. Like, not an exercise regimen, right? But battling and stuff.
Yeah.
Then there is a nasty storm, and Oak shows up with Stantler to help Joey, who almost fell off a cliff, and we learn that Gold jumped down. So now he's in like a river and stuff. Turned out he had to go rescue Joey's Rattata, and Expo is too exhausted because of the training earlier, with all the squats and everything. So he puts Expo in the Pokeball and pool shoots it against rock, so it lands on the ground next to where Rattata got to. Then Gold tries to get out, slips, and almost goes over the waterfall. But instead, he is rescued by Leddyba, and Oak chews him out for almost dying, and that the ground was so slick because of all the excessive training he was doing. So the reason the ground was so slick is because of all the training Gold was doing with his Pokemon.
How does that make any sense?
Because of trampling over the ground and getting it all beat down and stuff, and then with the rain on top of it.
Oh, I see.
Gold collapses and says he just wants to be stronger, and he wouldn't have to if Oak would just give him a Pokedex. And he won't get up until Oak gives him one. Oak pulls out one of the Pokedexes, and Gold gets excited. Oak snatches it back and asks what Pokemon mean to Gold. Are they comrades or friends, as some trainers have described them to him? And we see glimpses of red and yellow. Because to red they were like comrades, and yellow they were friends, right?
Because right by red it says comrades, and then by yellow it says friends.
Right. Well, we also remember that in Yellow's drawing book Pokedex, my friends. Mm-hmm. Or I hope to make this one my friend too, or whatever. Let's see. He asks if Gold could say the same, and Gold says that it doesn't sound right since Abo, having lived with him all Gold's life, is family, and Expo and him were united by the goal of getting Expo's Totodile friend back, and even though they lost the first round, he wouldn't give up, and that's just the way he wants it. Partners is the right word to Gold. Oak accepts this and gives over the Pokedex. Then Gold is ready to go, but Joey says he's going to go back and check on Elm. So Gold states he will continue on his own to go rescue Totodile and find his backpack. But Oak has the backpack. He found it by the river, tossed aside. Gold is so happy to see all the Pokemon still there, and then asks Joey to take them home because they are house Pokemon and shouldn't be gone from home that long, and his mom will be worried. Then something rings in his bag, and it is his watch. He talks to his mom and lets her know he won't be back for a while. Just a quote-unquote quick thing to take care of. Mm-hmm. He says goodbye to Joey and to Oak, and Oak is pleased to see the kid is changing already since he called him Oak instead of old man this time. Then he has his cool goggle shades back on, his backpack, Pokeball watch, and skateboard, and he and Expo skate out on their mission to find Silver and rescue Totodile. Oh, and he finds that Silver is stitched inside the glove, and figures that might be his name, which is the first indication I think we get that this is Silver, besides that he looks like Silver from the last volume, Volume 7. And then for the last chapter we're covering this week, Chapter 96, Number 1, Donphan. So at New Bark General Hospital, we have a complaining and in pain Professor Elm. His assistant is surprised that Elm didn't even notice someone come in and steal the Pokemon, and Elm, like in the anime, is apparently too focused on tasks to notice things. The assistant pulls an egg out of a bag part way and says at least that had not been stolen, and Elm agrees. Then there is a vid call from Gold, who introduces himself since he didn't have a chance to before, and says he and Cyndaquil are going to get that Totodile back and that Elm should stay out of the way. Elm laments that he has apparently lost Cyndaquil as well now. Then Joey is nervous to return the Pokemon because he thinks Gold's mom will be furious, but she isn't. Then when he hands the Pokeballs over, she notices that Polibo, the Poliwag, is missing. Gold gets the info and a call from Joey, and Gold figures that the ball probably rolled into the river where Oak found the bag. And so despite wanting to get going after Silver, Polabo comes first. Just hang in there, partner. I'm coming. So yes, he must be calling all his Pokemon partners then. That's how he sees them. Then we see Expo leaning against Gold's backpack and clothes while Gold swims around in the water looking for Polabo along with Abo. When they fail and climb out of the water, he mentions that there were so many false leads and dead ends, and there is a shot of a bunch of unconscious Chinchou? I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're Chinchou.
It's some kind of water Pokemon anyway. Oh, and this all is taking place now on Route 31. So he figures Polabo drifted further down the river, and Gold says he's not giving up. He is getting back on Silver's trail, and he'll be back for Polabo. Meanwhile, Silver is walking through town and sees a wanted poster, but it's the goofy face, and that seems to irritate Silver.
Well, it's kind of funny. He's like walking and serious, and then like one eye shows, and he looks at it, and then he like. There's even like the sound effect or whatever it's called, and it goes gong, and he's like, "What?" At least in the scene, doesn't seem to as much irritate him. He's just like, "Oh man."
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like Tangled, the Disney movie, where Flynn Rider sees his wanted posters and they just never get the nose right.
Yeah.
Then we go to Gold, who is entering Violet City. We get a cut to a man chasing after some punk on a Donphan and yelling, "Stop! Thief!" Then back to Gold ordering some food or something. Then the guy rides by on his Donphan, with a herd of them actually, and it gets dirt all over Gold's rice cake that he just bought. So now he's going to chase that punk down. As Gold is riding on a skateboard to get the guy, the first guy who had his pouch stolen asks if Gold is helping him out. Gold says he wasn't planning on it, just wants his rice cake paid for. Then Gold offers the punk a way of getting out of all of this without a fight. He just has to pay him for the rice cake. But the thief is not down with that, and so Abo gets involved, and Abo doesn't do much to the Donphan, and so the thief has it attack back. So Gold uses his new Pokedex to learn that the longer a Donphan's tusk, the higher in rank it is in the herd. Which I think kind of connects to the Donphan episode a little bit, where in that one they say the older they are, the longer their tusks are. So it's a little different, right? Like,
yeah,
they take more prominence in the herd if they have longer tusks. But that also kind of makes sense, because then the older they are, they've survived longer and can handle things better. So there's some connection there.
Yeah, because the baby one had its tusks super short, so
Correct.
Maybe it's like it was low in rank or something. You could have them both at the same.
So then he launches Abo all the way to the front where the leader Donphan is, and the thief is thinking Abo is going to get hurt. But then Abo is pulled back by the tail that was still gripping Gold's arm, and it caused the leader to spin out into a wall, and the rest of the Donphan to crash. The pouch flies off, and Gold catches it. And that's why he never follows the herd.
Well, yeah, he catches the pouch and tosses it back, and then he's like, "That's why I never follow the herd." Because it's right after, it's the picture of everyone.
Crashed.
Yeah.
That's right.
The herd crashing because they're following the leader.
So then he gets to eat a ton of food and claims that he didn't need that reward as it was enough doing the good deed, which is a lie. Then he learns that the guy who lost his pouch runs the academy in Violet City, and that he had important documents in that pouch for Professor Elm's assistant. And Gold seems flabbergasted that Elm's assistant is coming to Violet City. Then we go to New Barktown, and Elm and Oak are talking about Gold. Oak says that he is worried about this kid too, and that they thought Red was rash, but Gold's rashness makes Red's look like a pimple. Elm said his assistant is going to Violet City, and he should be keeping an ear out for news on Gold. Then Gold is worried about the assistant yelling at him for taking Expo, and so he takes the picture of Silver and goes to the thief that had wrecked his rice cake, who is tied up upside down next to the Donphan. Gold asks if he's seen this thief, since they're fellow thieves, apparently. But he hasn't, and then some other person chimes in that they have to be continued. And so that was what we're covering for the manga this week. Now, we jump into the anime. So this episode is 124, or episode 6 of season 3, and it's called Flower Power, or Kirehana no Batoru Danshingu. Translated, it's Kirei Hana's battle dancing. Now, the thing here is, I don't know what Kirei is for a name, but Hana is flower.
That's right.
So, and I'm guessing Kirei Hana is the name of the girl in the episode. Oh, no! No, it's not. It's the Bellossom. I bet you it's the Bellossom's name.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes a lot more sense. So, Ash and company are finally in a town. After all the forest wandering, we have finally reached a town.
Well, wasn't that one Donphan episode kinda a town?
No. They were off in the woods, and there was like a restaurant or something up on a cliff that had some people stop by, which is where Meowth learned the rumor of stuff. There was no town anywhere that we saw anyway.
Well, she mentioned about supplying the amberite for a town, so.
Sure. But we never saw the town that I recollect anyway.
Oh, I thought we probably, if you didn't.
And Ash and company never went into the town. I can guarantee
So
that.
they've still been wandering in the woods. Different woods.
Yes.
But still wandering in woods.
But now we finally reached a town. But you know what it's not?
Violet City.
Violet City. It's another one of those made-up towns. I think this one is called Florando or something, with flora being, plants and whatnot. So they're told about a Pokemon exhibition when they're there, which is an outdoor festival where trainers have Pokemon performances. Ash suggests he could do a television show with his Pokemon, and Misty asks who would watch that. Hardy har har.
I thought it was kind of funny.
It was a meta joke on the fact that we're watching a show about him and his Pokemon. Alright, so then we get to see a Flareon jumping through fire hoops. I was just happy to see an Eevee evolution.
Yeah, that was kind of...
And then we see Alakazam bending spoons with his mind.
One was really big.
One was really big. I think that's the one who was bending.
Yeah. Look.
And we see an Oddish balancing on an electrode, which Togepi did that with the Voltorb once.
Yes.
And then we see a pair of Bellossom, which I'm guessing might be Kirei Hana.
They were jumping really high. That's how they saw them.
Yes, and their names are Belle and Bella. And Belle as in Belle, like you like to name your Bellsprouts and stuff. I think you named both of them that in both.
I should have named him Ugly.
Well, the first time you did it without a hatred for Bellsprout because you hadn't learned to hate them yet.
I named one I Hate You.
No, you named Abra and I Hate You because they kept running away when they were a pain in the butt to catch.
Are you sure?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I re-listened to episodes.
That's fair.
So, Belle and Bella are acrobatic dancers. And, of course, the girl that trains them is beautiful, and Brock is infatuated. The Bellossom have a final move called the Loop-de-Loop, I think.
I think it was Bell Loop Dude.
Oh, maybe it's Bell Loop-de-Loop. You could be right.
Bell Loop, yeah.
Something along those lines. Anyway.
I thought it started with the bell, but...
You could it makes a lot of sense, actually.
Bell Loop-de-Loop.
And it doesn't go well, this move. And Ash catches the Bellossom that would have gotten hurt when it doesn't work. Apparently, the performance used to be perfect, but Belle has been having troubles since getting to the exhibition. Jesse and James arrive in town and find out there's some excitement, and they want to show off their dancing, because they have their own skills. So Jesse has her flamenco that she wants to do, and James is doing his ballet, which we learned that he knew before in the water gym episode when they go back. Because it's the same costume. He's wearing his little pink tutu again.
His pink tutu is so hilarious.
But I just thought it was cool that the costume came back and that they keep up with the fact that he knows ballet. It was just fun.
It's fun that
I love continuity. To do their dancing, though, to get people to see them, they need to get the attention of the people running around the city. And so they need Meowth to get up on stage and talk, because he's a talking Meowth. So that would draw some attention. Only, Meowth has nothing to say, so he just makes noises, because he's put on the spot, and he's like, Meowth? Which, of course, does not impress anybody.
And then he duck behind stage, and then they're like, you have to say something. He's like, I will not give my public an unscripted performance. That was so stupid.
So then they decide to write him some jokes. But that doesn't work either, because the jokes are dumb. And it was funny, because Jesse had the idea, and I just thought James's, reaction to it was like, I don't know, comedy's tricky. I just thought the way he said that was just hilarious. I don't know. So yeah, when the jokes don't work, James tries to save the day by giving Meowth another joke that he whispers to him, and Meowth starts it off, and he's like, "Did you hear about the low-fat Pokemon? Caterpie!" And when he said that, I was like, I don't get it. That's not a... What? But then James chimes in, he's like, "Butterfree, you idiot!" And I'm like, oh, now I get the joke.
Meowth is just like, it doesn't matter, either one works.
Well, he's like, what's the difference? Caterpie, Butterfree, they're the same Pokemon, which, I mean, he's not wrong, I guess, but...
I don't remember if I jumped to the Butterfree. I don't think I did, because when we saw it again, I didn't. I was just like, what the...
So instead, they take a bulldozer-type vehicle and just, like, go right into the center of everything, so everybody has to clear a path and decide to dance there, since everybody left because they didn't like Meowth's jokes. Even though he was a talking Meowth. Which is the crazy thing. They're like, ooh, a talking Meowth, that's fascinating, and it drew them in, and then he told jokes, and they're like, this is stupid, we're leaving. And I'm like, it's still a talking Meowth, though, what? And actually, I thought the jokes were kind of funny the whole time, so.
That's because you're a dad.
Probably true. Again, they have a different intro, which I always enjoy, and this one I thought was hilarious.
It really was. It really was. You get to say the good part. Well, James usually is the good part. That's
right.
And you do the best voice for him. Prepare for trouble and a dance.
I'm wearing tights instead of pants. So good.
It was hilarious.
So then Ash is going to fight Team Rocket, because it's Team Rocket. But Bailey, which is the Bellossom trainer, says the exhibitionist, so everyone that's putting on these performances, will be the one to defend their area. So Alakazam destroys their bulldozer, and the Bellossoms kick some butt. Also, Victory Bell ate James again, like he likes to do. So we'll have another tick in that category. Eventually, Team Rocket flees. When we cut to them again later, Team Rocket is starving and fight over the last piece of food that Jessie snatches up once again. She's always getting the last bit of food.
I wouldn't say she, like, snatched it up, because it was kind of like the James thing, except this time James and Meowth were arguing instead of Jessie. Because she just, like, puts it in and takes it, and she's like, the last bite is always the best. Again, yeah, not cool, Jessie.
Not cool, Jessie. So then they see a flyer for the exhibition, that because there's going to be a big one on a stage or something, and so they decide to steal all the Pokemon that will be there. Meanwhile, Bailey is having the Bellossoms practice their routine, and Ash asks if she started out training them to dance. And Bailey explains that it was supposed to be cross-training for battling, and it reminded me of Rudy, who also used dance for his Pokemon. But yeah, so like she would train them, but then like to get them to do other stuff to get more flexible and all that stuff or whatever. But there was dance. But it turned out they were good at the dance.
And they loved it so much more.
Yes. And so even though Rudy did his whole dance thing at that Orange Island gym, Ash has to learn once again that dancing is helpful for Pokemon.
When I first saw it, I was like, you learned the whole spiel and everything. But he only learned a little bit because Misty was the one who was there when he was telling everything.
Sure.
I mean, yes, he also learned dancing was helpful, but not quite as much.
That's true. So anyway, Bailey did find that her Bellossom preferred dancing, so that's why they focused on that. And during Bellossom's exercises, Pikachu also gets to practice some dancing. Bellossom is still having trouble with their special Baloop-de-Loop thing. So then, when it comes to the expedition, Team Rocket roped the hosts of the expedition, exhibition, not expedition, exhibition, so they could be the hosts instead, and then Meowth nets the whole exhibition Pokemon, like the whole group of exhibition Pokemon, and carries them off in the balloon. And Jessie and James grab onto the rope and ride on up as well. And then we have a really cool moment. Now, this cool moment is a little lame or silly because what did we see all the Heracross doing in their featured episode?
Eating sap.
How did they get to the tree and how did they leave the tree?
Fly.
Correct. They can fly. But what does Ash do? He uses Heracross' nose thing, the horn or whatever, for Pikachu to sit on to launch Pikachu up and make Pikachu fly. To get up to the balloon.
Well, Heracross doesn't have electricity.
But it did create a very amusing moment where Pikachu's like flying faster upwards past Jesse and James, who have like a what expression, like what the heck is happening? And then Pikachu gets up there and zaps everything.
Pikachu is a zap. I mean, Heracross could have flown.
He has the horn. He could just popped it with that.
But that wouldn't be as shocking.
True, it wouldn't have been as shocking.
Because now we were surprised and shocked by this.
Yes, but not really. Alright, so Pikachu zaps him, pops the balloon, it goes down, and Pikachu is ecstatic about it. They get into a battle, and Victory Bell eats James for the second time in this episode. So we got 2 ticks for that one.
He's just doing 2 times now.
And Pikachu uses all his new dance moves to dodge attacks when Victory Bell does come after him. But in the end, the Bellossom perform their move perfectly to win the day with a kick to Arbok. Or maybe, was that Pikachu was dodging? Maybe that was what Pikachu was dodging. I don't know. Pikachu was dancing to dodge people. And then Bellossom creates a tornado twister with their dancing, and Team Rocket is blasting off again! Ding. And all the Pokemon are A-OK. And when we catch back up with Team Rocket, they're still spinning around from the tornado attack just down the street. That's funny. And that episode's Who's That Pokemon is Spinarak. Alright, so our categories for stuff in this episode, we have babysitting Brock, when we have 2 for it because Misty actually has to drag Brock off twice in this episode.
Yep.
We have interesting intro, which we've covered. We have distracted Pokemon twice for Victory Bell eating James twice. And I decided to add a category I thought of recently, and I'm calling it Busted Bots. Anytime the Team Rocket has a robot or mech that they bring into the situation. This one had a bulldozer.
That they bring in, or that gets destroyed?
They just have to bring it in. It almost always gets destroyed, but they just have to bring it in for me to count it. Which means I had to go backtrack a little bit for the pincer, the robot pincer. I had to add that in there. But I think that's the only one from before, right?
I think so.
Oh, wait. No, that's not true. There was the batting robot thing in the doubleheader that hits Pikachu off into the scoreboard area or whatever. Or, no, it doesn't hit the scoreboard. It hits Pikachu and Chikorita to Team Rocket or something.
Oh, I forgot that.
Because, what's her face? Is it Casey? Is that her name?
That's what you said her name.
She talks, when it shows up, she's like, oh, see, I knew you'd cheat. But it's just Team Rocket's robot thing. And Pikachu tries to help Chikorita. So we have that busted bot, and we have the one from the Heracross episode, and now we have one from Flower Power. And that's all the categories I think we got for this one. So, Babysitting Brock, Interesting Intro, Distracted Pokemon, and Busted Bots. However, Distracted Pokemon and Babysitting Brock both got 2 ticks. So there was actually a lot in here. Now, the other part is, where does Flower Power sit?
Oh, right now it's just number 1, right?
No, it's
Wait,
not.
we're ranking them all the episodes?
For the season, yeah.
Oh.
So,
I'm defeated.
I personally am not that into most of the episode.
It's just a repeat of the...
Well, not really, but...
Okay.
So I put it just above Roll-On Pokemon, which was the Donphan episode, and so that's right below the Totodile episode, which was the first episode. That's personally where I thought it might fit, but do you have a different opinion?
I think I agree with that.
Okay, sounds good. So now our next episode. So we had a Who's That Pokemon of a Spinarak, and sure enough, our next episode is Spinarak Attack, featuring Spinarak. Lots of them.
I'd say there's a lot of Spinarak and stuff, but I don't know. I guess it is kind of the featured one. It just seems like they're not the main thing of the episode like the Pokemon usually are. They're just kind of a side thing.
I don't fully agree with that. I mean, first of all, there's just a bunch in the police station when we see that. But also, Jenny Spinarak, we get a whole story about it. We get a whole reason why everybody uses, like all the police use one in that town. But it also casts the net that covers the whole area at the end.
Oh, Spinarak does do a bit. Okay.
Yeah.
I can see it then.
Yeah, Spinarak is definitely featured and does stuff. Alright, so it is episode 125 or 7 of the season. Spinarak Attack. Also, Itumaru Dai Sosasen. Something like that. Which is Itumaru Big Police Investigation. So I'm guessing Itumaru is Spinarak.
You're right, the Japanese titles are pretty specific.
They are. And it's, so, to be clear, like, because I also told you that they like exclamation points. It's actually Itomaru! Exclamation point. Big police investigation! At 2 exclamation points.
There were 3, like, separate ones in one of the things you read, and I was like, seriously?
Yeah, they're big on that stuff. So, since we did a bunch of woods and forests and stuff constantly, we decided to go from one city to another city right off the bat.
Boom!
And I'm pretty sure this one's not in the game either, and it is also not Violet City. Nor is it Cherry Grove, which is the first town we visit after New Barktown. Here, the narrator lets us know that the town is famous for having had a cat burglar, who's not like an actual cat, just like the actual definition of cat burglar, who was called the Black Arachnid, and they had captured him. A police car goes by with a siren, and Ash and company are going down an alleyway and trip over a wire, or something. Then a spinnerack drops down right in front of Misty, and the pattern on its back looks like a face, and it changes its expression. Shockingly, Misty freaks out.
Isn't that shocking? I would say Spinnerack is also quite a buggy Pokemon because it's like a spider.
Yeah.
So she could have also classified that as not a bug Pokemon.
Yeah, it doesn't have the multi-faceted eyes or whatever, though.
That's fair.
Alright, so we cut to Officer Jenny and other police investigating a crime scene, and there are bottle caps all over the ground, but Jenny says it looks like payday. So then the police, they recognize that there's a copycat criminal out there of the Black Arachnid. They're copying the old crimes. And some of the police think they caught the criminal, but it turns out that it's Ash, Pikachu, Togepi, Brock, and Misty, all bound up in a big Spinnerack thread ball.
Mm-hmm.
Jenny releases them, and she apparently heard from her sister from New Barktown about some investigators that helped her rescue a burgled Totodile. Brock claims they're professionals as he tries to look impressive in front of Jenny. The Spinnerack crawls up onto Officer Jenny, and she explains the use of the Spinnerack. We learn that the original Black Arachnid was around 8 generations ago, and he had a Meowth companion that would pick locks and throw payday to help them get away from the police. But Officer Jenny's ancestor and her Spinnerack caught the Black Arachnid. So now all the police in this town have Spinnerack as their partners instead of Growlithe.
How could it have been 8 generations ago when we're only in the 2nd gen? Are we like doing weird time things here?
And Jenny's Spinnerack is descended from her own ancestor's Spinnerack. At some point before all of this, we saw Team Rocket dressed funny. It turns out it is the same style as the Black Arachnid, and they are trying to break into some building. Meowth breaks a claw trying to pick the lock like the original Black Arachnid partner, so James gives it a shot, and is so pleased with himself when he succeeds, as he acts like he's never tried before, which might be true. So he's like, I'm a real burglar. He's so excited about it.
I like James.
Now, what is payday?
It's a move that Meowth has.
That Meowth usually can learn, right?
Yes.
This Meowth can't because of his learning to talk, we learned, right?
Yeah, which is kind of stupid.
That's funny. So the Black Arachnid would use its Meowth's payday to get away from the police, correct?
Yes.
And it also used its Meowth to pick the locks, yes? And then the Black Arachnid was the trainer who would go in and steal things. Now we have Jesse and James both dressed as the Black Arachnid with their Meowth. This Meowth does not do payday, apparently cannot pick locks because it breaks its claws. But who is actually doing payday?
James, with his bottle caps.
With his bottle caps. Who's actually picking the locks?
James.
So James is actually a pretty good Black Arachnid and even better than the original. I am very fascinated by this.
Well, he's only throwing bottle caps because Jesse is making them.
Well, right, because they have to do the payday. Yeah, he's very sad about it.
Just throw like little pebbles. Those would hurt.
Nonetheless, I just think that it's funny that he's the one doing it all.
Yeah.
Technically. When they grab the object they wanted to steal, someone shows up and they claim to be the Black Arachnid 2. And yeah, then they throw payday with the bottle caps. And later on, Meowth is eating out of the precious bowl they stole, and James is lamenting that he's almost out of his precious bottle cap collection. And they come up with a new way to commit a crime and send a note to the next person they are going to steal from, and even give them the time of midnight so they know when it will happen. because the original supposedly did that on occasion too. So Ash and company help Officer Jenny secure the place. Ash has Bulbasaur hide in a garden. Squirtle hangs out in a pool. Heracross hops into a tree and starts eating sap. And Charizard is told to go or do whatever he wants to do, or go wherever you want to go, or something along those lines.
And he's like, and Charizard, go do whatever you want to do. It's like in the It's like in the Avengers movie where Captain America's giving everyone orders, and he goes, Hulk! And Hulk's like, I ain't gonna listen to you. And he's like, and Captain America goes, go smash things!
I think he just says smash, but yeah.
Probably.
Hulk, smash, because that's the saying that Hulk does, right?
That makes more sense.
It's hilarious, though. But anyway, Charizard moves over to be near a water fountain Blastoise, and he poses as a statue himself right next to it. That's what he chooses to do.
I'm surprised the Heracross didn't start eating the sap out of Bulbasaur's bowl.
Spinarak puts a web around the whole area, so there is no way the criminals can get in without any of them knowing about it. They struggle to stay awake while waiting for the crime to take place. Oh, and the item that's going to be stolen is a kind of trophy-looking thing that has an engraved Oddish and Lapras on it. But the coolest feature I thought about this thing were the handles. Do you remember the handles on this thing?
Weren't they Bellsprout things?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, weren't they Dragonies or
Dragonair!
That was kind of cool.
Yeah. It was so cool. Then midnight comes and goes, and so the owner of the item has his servants bring in a wonderful meal to celebrate that the thing was not stolen. However, when dinner is done, the black arachnid arrive from out of the ceiling. They complain about how there was food there and how it's rude that they didn't, save any for them being the criminals. Oh, Team Rocket. So then the gang claims that it was rude for Team Rocket to make them stay up so late and ask why they didn't show up at midnight. And it turns out because Team Rocket fell asleep while lurking in the attic. Because they actually never left after they left their note. That was their whole plan. They would stay there. They'd have to break in. And in here they also give their motto, which is completely modified, which is always fun. And it goes something like this.
Check your eyes and prepare for trouble.
We've got the prize, so make it double.
To protect the world from its own greed.
To steal all the treasure that they don't need.
To work every heist like there are none other.
And split the spoils with one another.
Jesse.
James.
Thieves return under the cover of the night.
Surrender now, or prepare to fight. But that was fun. I always like it when they totally modify it all. Yeah. Alright, so then they get to take off in their balloon with the trophy, but they get caught in Spinarak's web. So then while they're stuck, Ash has his Pokemon launch some attacks with Charizard sending up fire, which burns the web and allows Team Rocket to start escaping. Bulbasaur gets in a Razor Leaf before that, I think, which cuts a small hole in the balloon. Then Charizard is flying after the balloon, and Spinarak quickly shoots a web to keep the balloon from leaving, because of course they want to arrest the Black Arachnid too. Then Ash has Charizard knock Team Rocket away, which I thought seemed odd since they were trying to arrest them.
It does seem kind of odd.
And they hadn't made sure the treasure was free yet.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't matter. The treasure all falls out, and everyone rushes to catch the pieces of treasure. And Ash can't get to the trophy, which then leads to Brock saying, I guess you can't catch them all. Catching catchphrases! Anyway, when the trophy is tumbling, and it is caught, we see some other Pokemon etched into it besides the Lapras and the other, something else, I forget what it was. Oddish or something. And what we see is Ruby's favorite Pokemon.
No, we don't even need to mention it.
Bells!
No!
Bells!
No!
Bellsprout!
I got a little too loud, didn't I?
Yes, you did. And then everything is settled. They're thanked as professional investigators, and the team is back on their way. Oh, and Team Rocket blasted off again this time. And our Who's That Pokemon this episode was Snubble. Snubble.
Didn't we already have a Snubble?
We did not.
Is Snubble Johto?
Snubble is Johto. So, now when watching this episode, and was thinking about how Charizard nearly destroyed Team Rocket with the treasure. And then when they try to reel them in with Spinnerack, Charizard went in again on Ash's command to knock Team Rocket far, far away without even making sure the treasure was safe. Granted, it all fell out, so it was all good. And it got me thinking that there's been a number of times that they were supposed to be arrested or caught or whatever, and they get away because they get knocked away or blown away. And I'm beginning to think, or I'm constructing a theory, a conspiracy, that Ash is in league with Team Rocket. Whether it's because he wants them to get away, because he likes them, or he is doing it because he feels successful every time he beats them, so he wants them to stick around and keep causing problems so that he can beat them again. I don't know what it is, but Ash keeps helping them get away from the law. Not always, but quite often.
I thought he was just that stupid.
It could just be stupidity. But maybe that's all an act. And Ash is a lot smarter than we give him credit for.
Maybe. Actually, no, he wouldn't be. Because he'd be wanting to keep beating Team Rocket, which is stupid.
Yeah, he wants the glory, though.
Still...
It's clever to keep them in play to get that glory.
Yes.
Which is smart. Alright, so for Spinnerack attack, our tallies are distracted Pokemon. We only got one. Because when Ash takes all his Pokemon out in the yard, Heracross does try to eat pollen out of Bulbasaur again.
Wait, he did?
Yep. So yeah, Heracross tries to eat some Bulbasaur pollen again. We have an interesting intro with the, and then the modified motto. So like it was pretty much all modified. And then we have the catching catchphrase. And finally, babysitting Brock. Now, this time Misty didn't quite drag him away, but he was doing his thing, and she did pinch his ear and pull it back a little bit to stop him.
Yeah,
so it wasn't the full thing, but it was still the same concept.
It's a babysitting Brock.
Oh, good. I'm glad we're agreed. And then our ranking. Where does Spinnerack attack fall for you?
That was kind of cool. I don't know if it was like amazing, but it was kind of cool. Somewhere around the Totodile?
So, do you think it's better than Totodile?
I don't know.
Do you think it's better than Illusion Confusion with the Hoot Hoot?
Maybe.
Do you think it's better than the baseball episode?
Yeah.
Oh, you liked it better than the baseball episode? I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just wondering.
Oh, that one had Chikorita.
Because I typed it in where I personally felt it fell, but...
What's the order?
So, currently we have a sappy ending, which is Heracross. Double Trouble Header, which is baseball. Illusion Confusion, Hoot Hoot. Don't Touch That Dial, the first episode. Flower Power, the Bellossom. Roll On Pokemon, the Donphan.
Alright, it's better than Dial.
Okay.
I don't know if it's better than Illusion Confusion. They're all like the same. Like, I know that each Pokemon episode is different, but a lot of them have just like the same thing. So,
alright. Well, you did get it up above Don't Touch That Dial, and you feel like it's practically a tie with Illusion Confusion. So we will put it right where I have it, which is just above Illusion Confusion and below the baseball one. Is that fair?
Yep.
Good.
That'll work. Yeah, because the Illusion Confusion, yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I mean, I like them both a lot. It's not saying that I don't, obviously. But I did really like Heracross doing the Bulbasaur thing again. I really like James's continuity with his rich upbringing, his bottle caps, and actually being able to burgle. And Charizard choosing to be like a statue. And the modified motto was always fun. Almost always, at least. And the conversations they had about, hey, you didn't save us food, which was hilarious to me.
Yeah.
And I like Spinnerack. I think he's kind of a cool looking Pokemon because I kind of like spiders. But
I think spiders are cool. Now, if there's one next to me, I might freak out.
Okay, Misty.
She doesn't even think they're cool from afar.
True. All right. We move on to episode 126, or 8 for the season. Snubble Snobbery, or Buru no Kare na Saikatsu, or Bull's Magnificent Life, because Buru must mean bull. So, Buru must be Snubble's name in Japan.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Alright, so, the gang are 3 times in a row in town, but a different one again. And also not Cherry Grove, and also not Violet City. In fact, this one is called Palm Hills. which I assumed was probably a reference to like Beverly Hills because the place is very rich and palm trees are there, and there's even a star map that they get eventually to see where all the stars are, like famous people.
Yeah.
So it seems like they're going for like a California thing, but without actually calling it Hollywood in California like they did in an older episode, which made no sense.
Yeah, it's confusing.
Anyway, so it also got me thinking. So when they talked about Hollywood and going there, maybe Hollywood is an actual city that's in Johto.
Maybe.
And so then this place might work then too. This Palm Hills would also be in Johto, because maybe that's where all their movie stuff is. Because what is Hollywood? It is also plant, right?
Plant?
Yeah, it's a holly is a plant. Hollywood is probably a plant, got like a tree or something, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think anyway. I don't know. And what is the theme of the cities in Johto?
Plant?
Yeah, we had New Barktown, Cherry Grove, Violet City. So, I could see Hollywood being in Johto. Maybe that's all it was. It wasn't American Hollywood. It was Pokemon Hollywood.
That's kind of funny.
Anyway, they find a bunch of butler types looking for something, and then a Growlithe comes running around a corner freaking out because it has a Snubbull clamped onto its tail.
Poor Growlithe.
The gang is rewarded for fighting the Snubbull and are taken to the mansion of the lady that owns it.
Because didn't they get the Snubbull off the Growlithe's tail?
Yeah, I think so. And so then, but they were found with the Snubbull, which is why they are credited for.
It just seemed like it was kind of skipped, so I was just.
Oh, sure. So then, just like in the James fiance episode where we meet his parents and everything, we have a ridiculous exaggeration of wealth happening again, like with the doghouse and the mansion and things like that. So here we have they ride on a conveyor belt that you would find like at an airport to cross the lawn to the house because it's so big of a yard. They talk about how many rooms the mansion has, and I think it was like 86 or something, and how they are planning an expansion on the West Wing. They are given a tour, and we find that Snubbull's Saturday bedroom, which means it has more than one bedroom.
Yeah.
And there was a gym and spa for Snubbull, and all the while, Togepi and Pikachu are having a ball, taking in some of the relaxations of like the spa and everything.
Yeah.
But this whole time when they're getting a tour, Brock seems suspicious, and we zoom in on his face a couple of times throughout the episode where he's like,
You know, his eyes really give his face.
Yeah, they
expressions
narrow
away.
real good.
And when he's surprised about things, they like open up next.
It is clear that Snubbull wants to be free from the lady, who doesn't let go of her Pokemon at all, and it is being spoiled, but it wants to go outdoors. But then they find out that Snubbull is getting married to another Snubbull soon, like in the James episode. Somebody's being forced to get married.
Yeah.
And we cut to Team Rocket thinking about robbing the mansion, and they encounter Snubbull, who sees Meowth's tail and clamps on. They run, people chase, Meowth is in pain, and then they run into Ash and company. They're like, give us Snubbull back, and they're like, we're trying. And so Jessie grabs Meowth and swings him around to cause Snubbull to swing around off the tail until he finally she finally flies off.
It's funny too that they're like, give Snubbull back. We're trying.
Yep. Then at lunch between Snubbull and her fiance and the Snubbull owner, so both owners are there with the two Snubbull. They're talking about all the things they're going to do for the wedding and everything, but then Brock and the rest of the group pop out of some nearby bushes, and Brock tells the lady off about her smothering of the Snubbull. But then that's all interrupted, because of course she denies it or whatever, by the appearance of Team Rocket with another modified intro. Now this one was fairly simplistic and I would almost not count it, except that the way it's done is just, it amused me a lot. Like there's not a lot they had to add to it, but the couple words they threw in there and the way they arranged it just sounded hilarious to me.
Prepare for Snubbull trouble.
Make it double trouble, Snubbull. Right, they just put Snubbull in both of them, but the way it was placed, it was just funny.
Yeah, kind of.
Especially since it does rhyme with everything. So then they lower Meowth after the motto, and Snubbull takes the tail, and then they reel it in. So Meowth is bait.
Poor Meowth.
So then Team Rocket hides in a building on the property because there are people everywhere. Jessie and James get mad at Meowth, but Snubbull steps in to protect him because Meowth is complaining about stuff or freaking out because of the people or something. I don't remember.
Yeah. Maybe he's being too noisy.
Maybe.
Cause
Well, Snubble's not biting him at that point, I don't think.
I know. Just maybe he's still being too noisy. Like, my poor tail. It's all because
be.
I think he has bandages on.
Yeah. So then, but yeah, Jessie and James get mad at Meowth, but Snubble steps in to protect him, which shows an odd affection Snubble has for Meowth. It then sees his tail again and latches on again. So Meowth runs out of the building screaming while everyone is looking for them, and so they're found. And a battle ensues. Arbok is flung onto Meowth, and then Snubble grabs Arbok's tail, which it doesn't like. Then Brock tells Snubble's owner, the lady, to call out some attacks, and that works out, because she's not used to battling or anything. Heracross, who I think was the one to fling Arbok onto Meowth, is watching with seemingly pure joy as Snubble battles. Again, Heracross just has some great expressions and stuff.
Like, he just has these really big, like, affectionate eyes in his expressions. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. Earlier, during a meal, Brock had some snacks in his bag that Snubble liked because they were giving it all this fancy stuff, but it wouldn't eat it. And he's like, well, here, try these. And they call them popcorn balls. But once again, they were just onigiri, or, rice balls, just like the jelly donuts were.
Just call them for what they are. Or find something closer than jelly-filled donuts and popcorn balls.
Well, the popcorn balls is a little closer because of the white, I guess. So back to the battle with Team Rocket. They get bashed around by Snubble. Their balloon arrives, so they climb aboard, and then Ash tells Heracross to stop them. And he bashes them upward, sending the balloon flipping around, which leads to Team Rocket flipping out again! Ding!
Flipping out. Which
was more evidence that Ash is protecting Team Rocket from actually getting caught.
Yeah.
Everything seems squared away, and the lady sort of learns a lesson and has an outdoor area created for Snubble, because she wasn't letting her outdoors before. Then Ash and the gang head off, and we see Snubble look at some vines in its outdoor play area. The lady is talking to one of her servants and wants to expand the play area, but the vines remind Snubble of a very special Pokemon tail. Meowth's tail. And so Snubble bursts out through a hedge away from the lady and runs off toward the sunset. And with the added narration, it almost seems like we may be gaining another Pokemon following along, just like Jigglypuff, who we haven't seen much lately.
So, like, both pink and fairy-ish, and I don't know if it's fine, but, like, yeah, they're both. One's the Kanto, one's Johto.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And I think Snubble even gets the fairy type when fairy type comes into the game.
Yeah, that's why I said fairy. Because I'm pretty sure Snubble, like, that's what I knew Snubble as was fairy.
Oh, sure, from Go. Yeah, there's no fairy type in Johto yet.
Not from Go, from cards.
Oh, from cards, sorry. But, yeah, there's no fairy type in Johto's. That doesn't get added until 7, I think. Or no, 6. Oh, and then I also remembered that during the intro, we do see a Snubble latched onto Meowth's tail being flung around or whatever that did not happen in this episode like that. Like, that specific version, the scene, did not happen in this episode, which also leads to me to thinking that we're going to see Snubble some more.
Yeah, wasn't I the one who's like, wait, Snubble's coming back, Snubble's coming back?
Yeah, maybe.
I was like, I pointed out Snubble a lot. I was like, Snubble is going to be in this. I know Snubble's going to do something. It's the same Snubble.
It's the same Snubble. And then this time our Who's That Pokemon is Stantler. Alright, so we have, for our tally, interesting intro. We have 2 distracted Pokemon because when Heracross is launched out at first during the battle, he finds some flowers nearby and starts sucking on them. And Victory Bell once again eats James. And then we have a tally for We're Off again because we have them flipping out again this time instead of blasting off.
Yep.
Now, where do you think Snubble Snubbery belongs?
I kind of like the reason I like this episode is because of Snubble.
You like Snubble a lot?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, because it's almost like now we're like, it might be another Jigglypuff.
Yeah, that's true. I am excited about the potential.
Being obsessed with Meowth's tail.
Yeah. So where do you think it fits?
Maybe right below Illusion Confusion?
Oh, so, okay. So it goes Sappy Ending, Double Trouble Header, Spinner Rack Attack, Illusion Confusion, Snubble Snobbery, and then Don't Touch That Dial?
Yep.
Alright. I can agree with that. Because it's not like my favorite, but I do like the potential that's coming up. Alright, so the Who's That Pokemon last episode was Stantler, and now we have episode 127, or 9 of the season, which is The Little Bighorn, or Odoshishi Maboroshi no Mori, which is Odoshishi, Forest of Illusions?
So, Odoshishi is probably Stantler's name.
Correct.
And a fun fact about this episode is, randomly, this is one that I have seen. I don't think I've seen any other from the season. Maybe I have. But this one random episode I've seen, and my dad has not.
You mean before we watched it?
Yeah, like before we watched it, I saw it.
Sure.
I was like, I know this episode. And for some reason I knew it really well. It's like, I understand everything.
So, one thing I thought was interesting from the Japanese title is that it's Forest of Illusions, but it takes place in a town. There is some forest for a little bit, but it's mostly in town. And we had an American title for the Hoot Hoot episode was, like, basically Forest of Illusions. I don't think that's exactly what it was called, but something similar to that. So, I thought that was weird, but, whatever. So here we have Ash and Company in another city that is not Cherry Grove and is not Violet City. And it's not in the game, from my understanding. But they come upon a couple of huge eyes that pop out from behind some bushes. But it turns out they're not eyes, they're antlers. And the Pokedex mentions that the eye-like portion gives off a scent sometimes that can cause illusions. The answer to this whole plot was right there at the beginning, just so you know.
But did you realize it?
I think so. And anyway, it is a little Stantler that comes out, which has the antlers that look like eyes. And so Brock acts like a Stantler as he tries to get closer to it and ease the creature. Then he sees it has a wounded leg, but before it gets close enough to Brock, it lets off the scent. Then, before Brock can bandage the leg, Ash and Misty see an entire herd of Stantler behind Brock. And when Brock sees them, they all run for their lives, with the Stantler chasing them.
Yeah, the Ash and Co run for their lives. It kind of sounded like the Stantler ran for their lives.
No, Ash and Company.
They ran to get their lives.
Finally, they get away, and all the Stantler have vanished without a trace. Jenny pops out from some bushes, and she wants them to come with her, which Brock decides to misinterpret as a date, which is just kind of typical for Brock. When she tries to clarify she wants statements from them, he thinks, well, that's a weird first date, but okay. When they're at the station, they are talking about the peculiar nature of the herd, and then there is some freaking out outside, so the gang pop out to see that Team Rocket is running for their life, and they say their modified intro in a hurry while they are still running in place.
Yeah, because they run up by the doors where they came out, and they was running in place saying it very quickly. If you want our advice, it's prepare for trouble time.
And we strongly suggest you do it in double time. It's also funny because at the very end when Meowth says that's right, he's like, that's right, as he runs by the screen a couple times. Apparently, Team Rocket had heard about the herd of Stantler. They found only one, but then the whole herd showed up and they had to run for it. But now the Stantler are gone again, and so is Team Rocket at the moment. Then an antler pokes around from around a corner and lets off a scent, and the Stantler herd starts coming again. Everyone runs back into the station except for Brock, because he's getting suspicious, and then he starts noticing some of the Stantler are running through walls and lampposts. And so he stays out there and lets all the Stantler run right into him. But it turns out they actually just went through him because they were an illusion. Then we just see the little Stantler again limping along because it has its wounded leg, and then Brock is finally able to patch it up. Brock explains how he figured it out, and Jenny learns that Brock is off to be the best breeder. She says he already seems to know everything, and he denies it. And there is talk about him sensing what is in a Pokemon's heart. Jenny says that he must be able to sense what is in a Pokemon's heart, which Brock then tries to turn around and say that he wants Jenny to be able to sense what is in his heart.
Oh, Brock.
During all this, Team Rocket was spying and figured out the truth about the little Stantler. The next day, Brock The next day, Brock and co. decide to release Stantler back in the mountains so it can go back to its family and where it belongs. It doesn't want to leave, and so Brock has to act like he doesn't want the Stantler around anymore and yells at it to go out there. Brock is sad, but is sure he's doing the right thing and that Stantler will be alright. But it won't, because, Team Rocket. Speaking of them, James apparently spent all his money to get the anti-Stantler number 7. And then the rest of the gang wonders why it's called number 7. He's like, well, after expensive problems that needed to be fixed with the other ones. And they use it to and so what the Stantler, the giant, it's not even a Stantler, this giant fawn-looking thing does is it gets close to the Stantler, it's unaffected by the scent, which is a plus, and it shoots a net out of its mouth, which is exactly what Team Rocket could have done from their balloon. And have done things like that from their balloon. And then they wonder how they're going to go collect it. And he's like, well, we have to go down there and get it. And like you couldn't, with all our money in this big project, get one that would fetch the Pokemon for us. Oh, man.
I know Team Rocket's evil, but they also seem to get the short end of the stick a lot.
Yeah. But anyway, they get down to capture the Stantler, and the Stantler uses its scent to cause Meowth to cry a bunch, and they have to keep snapping Meowth out of it, but eventually they get the Stantler, hang it from its net, and get in their balloon and take off. And then, when Brock shows up, James sicks the anti-Stantler. Well, now he's calling it the Super Stantler, actually, which doesn't make a ton of sense, but whatever. To attack Brock, and the laugh that James has at this moment is the most evil version I've ever heard of James's laugh. Like, usually it doesn't sound that evil. And I was
I remember that.
I was like, what in the world? But it doesn't matter. Brock uses Onyx to destroy the big old machine and continues to chase after Stantler. And Ash sends Pikachu in with a Thunderbolt, which doesn't reach, and there's a hilarious line from James that maybe Pikachu needs an extension cord. It doesn't seem like they'll be able to get to Stantler, but then a silhouette of a more grown Stantler rushes in and cuts the net and part of the balloon, it seems. Stantler falls, and after Bulbasaur tries to save it with a Vine Whip, the net breaks open, but Brock rushes in and catches the little guy, because he played in Little League.
But I know that it's a baby Stantler, but it's still a decent size that would, topple you over.
The baby Stantler?
Yeah.
No, it's not. The regular Stantler are big enough to topple you over. The little one isn't.
Well, it's big enough and heavy enough that if it lands in your arms from up high, it could definitely topple you
Well,
over.
see, here's the thing. Well, first of all, Brock, was landing on the ground catching it. Oh. But what happens is when it fell in the net, Bulbasaur caught it in the net, so that slowed it down for just a minute.
Oh.
Then the net broke, and he continues to fall. So, the fall was broken midway.
Okay.
So it's a little more realistic. It's still cartoon stuff, but it's a little more realistic.
Alright, I'll accept.
And then Team Rocket is on the ground, and their balloon is damaged. And so then they turn around and see the large herd of Stantler again amongst the trees and bushes. They throw their anti-Stantler remote at the illusion, because they're like, whatever. And one of them steps on the remote and destroys it, revealing that they are not an illusion this time. The Stantler charge forward and send Team Rocket blasting off again! Ding! Then little Stantler is returned to its herd, they all say goodbye, and then Ash and company continue toward Violet City. Maybe they'll make it someday.
Do they really continue towards Violet City, though?
Now here, we have an interesting moment. Our Who's That Pokemon this episode is Totodile. And I thought that was interesting after watching the next episode, specifically because it does not feature Totodile. But we never had a Who's That Pokemon Totodile, because Totodile was in the first one, and the American dub has the Pokemon that's going to be featured the next episode and the previous episode, which doesn't work at the beginning of the season.
They could just have 2 episodes that feature Totodile. Just saying.
Sure, but the next episode does not feature Totodile. In fact, it is an episode that features a Pokemon that they already featured before, which is part of the reason they were able to go backtrack with the Totodile here. Mm-hmm. Alright, so the Little Bighorn. We have interesting intro, which we covered. We have babysitting Brock, because Misty does drag Brock off by his ear. And we have busted bots, with Team Rocket's anti-Stantler / Super Stantler, which doesn't look like a Stantler, so Super Stantler doesn't make any sense. Alright, where does the Little Bighorn fall for you?
Wait, I have stated my opinion in the last 2 episodes.
I know, but that's because you seem like you wanted to state your opinion on the last one. But I can do this one if you'd like. I will start with my opinion.
I think. I think it's above Illusion Confusion, at least. What's the one above Illusion?
Spinnerack Attack.
Your turn, I don't know.
You think it's above Illusion Confusion? I mean, that's fine. I'm surprised. I, personally, put it probably right below Don't Touch That Dial.
This is the worst one yet, you think?
No, Flower Power and Roll On Pokemon are under those. But it was not my favorite. It had some interesting moments, but it was definitely not my favorite.
I could see it being there. What's under Illusion?
Snubble Snobbery.
And then under that?
Don't Touch That Dial.
Oh.
So, do we want to put it above Don't Touch That Dial and below Snubble Snobbery?
I feel like we should... I feel like Don't Touch That Dial should be higher, so put it Don't Touch That Dial.
Oh, really? Okay. Because you said it was better than Illusion Confusion, so which is definitely above Don't Touch That Dial. I mean, I'm good with it if you want to put it there.
Put it there.
Okay, so just under Don't Touch That Dial, but above Flower Power?
Yes.
Okie dokie. And then for the final main, regular episode, before we get into the shorts, we have episode 128, or episode 10 of season 3. The Chikorita Rescue, or Ijipari no Chikorita. It's translated into The Stubborn Chikorita.
That title's better, yeah.
Yeah, I like that one for this too.
Japanese is better in this one.
Yes. We have Ash and company climbing higher into some mountains. So we're not in woods and we're not in a town. Woohoo!
We're in somewhere new. But still, not Violet City.
Yeah, we're still not there. So, they're climbing higher into mountains and they come across a wild Chikorita. Then we get some flashbacks to Casey and her Chikorita, which I was kind of surprised to see Casey again, to show us that stuff again. But it was to show that it had the ability to give off a scent. And Ash makes absolutely sure there is no one else out there that owns this particular Chikorita by making big exclamations that Misty, I think, is the one that's if you keep doing that, the Chikorita will run away. But he didn't want to get caught in the whole Donphans situation again or anything, so.
Well, he's been caught in that situation a few times for, stupid things.
And we know Brock isn't going to back...
near you.
Yeah, and we know Brock isn't going to back him up. He's just going to throw him under the bus again.
It's keep your Pokemon next to you.
Because actually, I think Brock did that in the last episode again, too, because when the bush moves, they're like, that must be where the Stantler is. And then it's Jenny. And then Brock quickly switches to be like, hey, Ash is an idiot over here, sorry. He thought you were a Stantler. I think he did that in that one, too.
He probably did.
Oh, man, Brock. Alright, so after making it all clear, he decides to get down to business battling this Chikorita so he can catch it. So this is even all normal stuff. He's going to battle it, weaken it, try to catch it. We haven't had a whole lot of those. But this Chikorita is stubborn, and it turns out to be a tough opponent. So Ash uses Bulbasaur, and I think he maybe even used Pikachu at one point. I can't remember. But finally he brings out Charizard. The large fire Pokemon amusingly puts a foot up to stop Chikorita from getting to him. But then Chikorita trips up Charizard with its vines right after Ash says, use Flamethrower. So he opens his mouth to use Flamethrower. Chikorita wraps its vines right around Charizard's standing foot and trips him. So where's Charizard's mouth aimed now?
Chikorita?
Huh?
At Ash?
At Ash's face.
I thought it would fall on top of Chikorita, but Chikorita's smart.
Yeah, no, Chikorita's in front of it and uses the vines wrapped around and pulls.
Oh, yep.
So he falls backwards and burns Ash's face, which means we're going to have a friendly fire mark here. Eventually, Charizard picks up Chikorita, and Chikorita hits Charizard in the face, causing him and Chikorita to crash into a rock wall and go down. Chikorita is still determined to fight back, but she's really beat up and collapses, and so Ash picks her up and carries her to the nearest Pokemon Center, which is higher in the mountains where there is some snow. Now here, I had a little problem. Chikorita just got weakened. That's when you catch the Pokemon. You don't go pick it up and go heal it first. You catch it, and then you go heal it, and then it's yours. Whatever. Oh, Ash. Maybe he's just dumb.
I told you!
Brock, of course, is flirting with Joy. when they get there.
Do we even need to say this at this point? We can
No,
say if
probably
he
not.
doesn't do it.
For sure. And then Ash and Misty want to be the first to get their Pokemon looked after. So does Brock, but he gets trampled by the other two. Ash has turned in his Pokeballs, and so he just has Pikachu with him when Team Rocket, disguised as emergency Pokemon doctors, come in and take Chikorita.
Wait, he turns in his Pokeballs and only has Pikachu. So where's Chikorita?
Chikorita was already taken in. Like, when they get there, Chikorita's taken in to be taken care of.
Okay.
And then they all fight to see whose Pokemon gets looked after first. And apparently, Ash has his turned in to get looked after. When Team Rocket shows up disguised as emergency doctors and escort Chikorita out on a stretcher.
Okay.
And then, of course, they're like, where did you guys even come from? And so then they reveal themselves with an interesting intro. And they even, like, change up the outro just a little bit. But we don't tally those so much.
Well, if they changed up the end and not the beginning, would we tally that?
Only, I don't know, maybe if it was significant. I don't know.
Depends on the thing.
But here we have,
We're from the team that causes trouble.
I hope you're insured because we make it double. And then when they say their names, it's Dr. Jesse, Dr. James,
Dr. Jesse!
instead of just Jesse and James. And then at the very end, they say,
Team Rocket Doctors blast off at the speed of light.
surrender now because we're not making any more house calls.
Didn't even rhyme.
I know, it's so weird, which is why I don't really necessarily count it. It was just a funny way to end it. Then they drive off in their ambulance thing. Ash takes a shortcut uphill and ends up catching a ride on top of Team Rocket's ambulance. Misty thinks he'll be okay until she realizes that Ash doesn't have any of his Pokemon except Pikachu.
He doesn't really need any more. I think it's...
And when Ash arrives and tries to make a plan with his Pokemon, that's when he realizes that he has none of his other Pokemon. Then inside, Team Rocket is trying to convince Chikorita to sign up with Team Rocket, which she won't. And then Ash does a version of the Team Rocket motto, with Team Rocket filling in parts of it. But this one, I definitely will count as a modified motto, just like I would with Butch and Cassidy.
Yeah.
So here we have, Team Rocket, prepare for trouble. On second thought, make that double.
To protect the world from devastation?
To unite all peoples within our nation? Maybe you think I'm a little too brash, but the master is here, and my name is Ash. My Pokemon team is faster than light. Surrender now, or you're in for a fight. I thought that was a lot of fun.
It is.
So then Ash races out with Chikorita and Pikachu, but they all get caught in some hidden trap. Before Team Rocket can get them, they all slip down a hill. Remember, there's all a bunch of snow everywhere. So,
Yeah.
once free, Chikorita still wants nothing to do with Ash and runs off, while Pikachu and Ash find a cave and warm up inside. Ash can see that it's getting to be rough outside, with a snowstorm and everything, and feels bad for Chikorita, who must be all alone out there. And so he goes looking for her. He thinks he finds her, but it turns out it's just a Nidoran male and female canoodling behind some bushes. Then the snow under him collapses and he falls. And then he's like, I give up. Just before he finds Chikorita sitting all alone, shivering. So Ash grabs Chikorita, goes back to the cave, and they, along with Pikachu, all stay warm together. The next morning they are leaving, and Team Rocket appears, with Meowth wearing a snowball maker gun, and the first blast hits Ash squarely in the face. But Chikorita slices the other snowballs and damages the controls of the machine. Then Pikachu zaps it, and it causes the machine to explode, and they are blasting off again! Ding! Ash gets Chikorita back to the Pokemon Center, says goodbye, and Chikorita rushes in and grabs onto Ash, wanting to go with him. And so Ash has collected one of the Johto starting Pokemon! Woohoo! And our Who's That Pokemon this time is Quagsire. Alright, our tallies for this. We have a mark, again, for Gotta Catch 'Em All, which is when Ash or anyone else in the group catches a new Pokemon. Might even include Team Rocket, I don't know. But Ash caught Chikorita! We have Friendly Fire, where the Charizard was tripped and blasted Ash's face. We had the interesting intro with the emergency Doctor Team Rocket. We have a modified motto where Ash does his own version of the Team Rocket motto. And that's it. That's all that's in that one. And so, if I calculated correctly, which I might have missed something, our totals so far for the Johto journeys are Jumping Jigglypuff, 1, which is really surprising because they made a point of showing that Jigglypuff was still following him a couple episodes at the end of the last season, and then we saw Jigglypuff a couple times in the first episode, but I don't think we've seen Jigglypuff since then. Babysitting Brock, we have 6. Interesting intros, we have 9 out of 10 episodes. No, that doesn't make sense. We have 10.
It's 10 for 10.
Yeah, it's 10 for 10. Sorry. We have 10. Jessie's hair. Only 1, and that was the Totodile episode. Distracted Pokemon. I believe it's 12. I might have to re-go over these because I've already made one mistake. So, 12 distracted Pokemon out of 10 episodes.
But Drew Bell took 2, though. Like a couple.
Yes. We're off again! So they say something different besides blasting off, and it's 6. Catching catchphrases, 3. Friendly fire, 3. As we had Pikachu electrify the copies in the forest, Casey and Ash, and Charizard burns Ash's face. Modified mottos, I believe we're at 3. Broken bridges, only 1. Togepi trouble, only 1. Recurring rivals, Gary's only showed up the 1 time in this season. Entertaining exits, Team Rocket left without any kind of blasting off or anything once. And busted bots, we have, well, that's the thing. In my mind, the busted bots are like actual robots or mechs, not necessarily special equipment like the Snowball Maker.
Yeah,
do you agree with that?
Sense.
Okay, so I think we're at like 4 or 5 for busted bots. I think I might have missed something, but
the iron metal Meowth suit or something. I might call that a bot.
I would call that because that is kind of a mech, just a smaller one, right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't give it to like the little guns they have that, like the gun shields they have that one time.
Or the electric thing.
The electric thing.
For the rain, like that one made you want them to make a Pokemon game with a cow or Western.
Oh, yeah.
Like things like that.
Yeah.
Don't really count.
Yep, I agree. Yep. All right. So yeah, that's where we stand at the moment. Also, just so you all know that some of the categories we do have that we haven't hit yet are like gotta give 'em up, and that's when Ash releases his Pokemon, which is the opposite of the goal of the stuff here. Irritating interruptions, when Team Rocket is interrupted from their motto. I might actually expand that to just when people aren't paying attention either, which would then include the Totodile episode where Jenny's like, "Can you repeat that?"
Yeah,
definitely. I think I might include that. So we might have one of those actually. Rockin' reunions. This is when we have a return of characters we haven't seen in a while. I've heard this happens with some characters, so I put it here just in case. Because I don't think we've had any characters just kind of return yet, have we? Well, Brock. I guess Brock, technically, even though he's part of the core group. Okay, so yeah, we have. Oh, Psyduck sighting. And that's when Psyduck pops out of his ball when he's not the one called. Oh, one-track Ash. And this is when Ash is oblivious to anything being more important than catching and battling. Like all those love comments in the previous season. It's like, is there anything more important? Well, yeah, catching Pokemon. It's like, no, that's not more important, Ash. Yeah, and those are some of the other categories we have, I believe. If there's any other that you think might need to be here, or that we're not thinking of, need to be included, go ahead and email us, or text us, or whatever. But, now, I don't think we have any tally marks that come in for the next couple of things we're covering, which are the 2 Pokemon shorts. Oh, wait, before we get there, I think we forgot to rank this episode. So, the Chikorita Rescue, where do you put this one?
I rank it kind of close to Totodile thing. Be above Snubble Snobbery.
Yeah?
Or so. Like,
yeah,
it's
I'm
better than that.
Yeah. What pulls it up for me, well, the 2 things that pull it up for me, specifically, are that we get Chikorita.
Yeah.
And I like him getting the starters. And Ash's motto of Team Rocket was hilarious to me. And, like, it was good in other things and stuff, but, like, there's also some stupid stuff. And, like, I really liked Charizard burning his face because he got tripped, but, like, Ash really struggling against the Chikorita was weird, and that he didn't catch her when she was weak was a little weird.
We'll just put it where it is.
What do you mean?
Above Snubble Snubbery.
Oh, okay.
I thought we agreed on that.
Oh, I didn't necessarily, yeah. So, between Illusion Confusion and Snubble Snobbery? So,
Sure.
Between Hoot Hoot and Snubble?
Sure, I guess.
I think I'm good with that. So, after 10 episodes of Season 2, our rankings are 1. No, let's go backwards. Number 10. Our worst episode so far is Roll On Pokemon. 9. Flower power. 8. The little bighorn. 7. Don't touch that dial. 6. Snubble snobbery. 5. The Chikorita rescue. 4. Illusion confusion. 3. Spinnerack attack. 2. Double trouble header. And 1. A sappy ending, which is the Heracross episode.
Yep.
Alright, and now we go on to the Pikachu shorts. The first one is Winter Games. So we have a couple of cute shorts featuring the Pokemon that are traveling with the gang. Some of them seem to be missing, like we don't see them. We don't see Charizard ever, I don't think, but he's always conveniently missing in a lot of episodes when it would make more sense to use him than some of the other Pokemon.
Well, they don't want Ash to be too overpowered.
Sure. We also I don't think we see any Staryu, Goldeen, or the Zubat in these episodes. Anyway, the gang is going out shopping in this one, and Pikachu is left in charge. Pikachu and Chikorita watch out the window, and when all the other Pokemon gets up there to join them, the newcomer, Chikorita, is knocked down. She is not happy about it. Then Squirtle discovers that fogging up the windows and putting their faces on it is fun. And Big Brother Pikachu helps Togepi out with that whole, making faces and fogging it up and stuff. Mm-hmm. Then Chikorita throws a fit and causes a slipper or something to bounce around the room and hit Togepi right...
A what?
Like a slipper?
Oh, slipper.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And bounces around the room and hits Togepi right in the face. Togepi cries, and all the Pokemon are trying to cheer up the little egg. Because that was the problem in the first short for the movie, wasn't it? Togepi crying?
Yes, it was!
And Bulbasaur sang it a lullaby?
Yeah, and rocked it to sleep. And then annoying Pokemon.
And what was part of that annoying Pokemon group? Our first appearance of Snubble.
Snubble! Well, that Snubble was a jerk.
Yeah, it had there was a Meryl and a Raichu and another Kanto Pokemon.
I like Meryl, but that Meryl...
Yeah. So Geodude starts doing a peekaboo, and Poliwag is winking each eye in turn. But Vulpix brushes Togepi. We don't see Vulpix that often, but Vulpix shows up and brushes Togepi with its tail, and that fixes everything. Chikorita rushes out of the cabin, and so the gang give chase, and Chikorita ends up slamming into an icicle because she was too busy looking behind her. The rest of the Pokemon laugh, and this does not aid in Chikorita's attitude. Surprise, surprise. The other Pokemon also noticed a cool sound from the icicle, and so they start hitting other icicles to make music. And Pikachu even explains to Heracross what to do with a bunch of them by putting its own ears together into an impression of Heracross's horn, which I thought was adorable.
I thought Pikachu was trying to help Chikorita out this whole episode, at the first point, when Chikorita gets knocked off the table, eventually Pikachu comes down and is like, oh, come up or whatever.
I think he does, but Chikorita just has a bad attitude the whole time and it doesn't go anywhere. Chikorita never gets back up there.
I know, I just thought we'd point out that.
But Pikachu does try to help Chikorita, but Chikorita's stubborn and annoyed. I don't remember the icicle for sure, but Pikachu definitely tried to show Heracross how to do it, and when he put his ears together into a similar shape was just funny to me.
Yeah.
Chikorita starts cutting the icicles down with Razor Leaf, and that causes the Pokemon to fall over when they're trying to dodge things and stuff and get knocked around. Geodude's icicle just smashes apart on top of his head, and he seems completely unfazed, which I thought was hilarious. But it makes sense because he's just a rock, right?
Yeah.
Chikorita then rushes down an ice rink and slips and starts sailing across. The rest of the gang fall down the stairs in their hurry, and Pikachu also sails across the ice. Then all the Pokemon start playing on the ice and having a great time. Meowth shows up and wants to show them how it's done, but then some of the Pokemon basically pull a curling move. Curling is a sport, do you know that one?
Yeah. That's
when they keep sweeping the ice in front of whatever they're trying to get down there. I forget what it is now. Anyway, they're trying to get something to go across the ice, and they keep scraping or sweeping or something the ice right in front of it to get it to keep going. And that's what they're trying to do here with Meowth. They sweep in front of where he's at to make him go faster and faster. So because there's no debris or anything to slow him down.
I remember seeing something, but
yeah.
I didn't know
so that's what they
what
do.
they were doing. Interesting.
And so he slides faster and uncontrollably, and then he crashes. They end up doing this to each other as well, with Squirtle and stuff, who's bouncing all over the place on his back while he hides in his shell. Eventually, Meowth is spun around, so he's spinning super fast on the ice, and they do the curling thing again, and he collides with the out-of-control Squirtle, and so then Meowth ends up launching up, and he says something like, Even without Team Rocket, I guess I'm blasting off.
Ding.
Ding. Everyone is having fun now, and someone even ends up riding on Squirtle's belly. I think it's Togepi. And the gang shows up and calls them all back. Oh, and just to be clear, per usual, this whole episode when we hear the other gang and everything, we do not see their faces or heads. It's if we see a head, it's only because we see a silhouette of them because they're so far away.
Yes.
So you see maybe a shape of a head, but you never see their faces. Which I think is a fun thing that they keep the theme of throughout these. Then the next Pikachu short is Stantler's Little Helpers. In this episode, everyone is getting ready for bed in a cabin again. And I also noticed that they're by snow, in cabins and stuff, and the last episode they were up a mountain full of snow, so maybe they're just in the same area.
Yeah.
Although this one does suggest that it's Christmas time, so whatever.
Well, both could be winter time.
Sure. But see, here's the issue, is that we keep having all these winters and Christmases, and Ash doesn't get any older.
Wait, you said that, wait, were you meaning that, they're in the same spot as they are in the anime episode?
That's what I was suggesting. Up in the mountains where it's snowy.
Oh, I see.
Which would be a good excuse for the snow until we get to Stantler's Little Helpers, which suggests it's Christmas time.
Yeah.
So this episode, everyone is getting ready for bed in the cabin, and they're all excited for Christmas in the morning. Pikachu and Togepi excitedly get into their trainers' beds and go to sleep. Then, while everyone is out, Chikorita pops out of her Pokeball on her own, like Psyduck often does. And she uses her vines to pull Pikachu out of bed, and he's sleeping, right? And lay him down on the floor. And then she crawls under the covers with Ash instead. Then the rest of the Pokemon, the same ones from the other short, pop out of their Pokeballs too. They all end up looking out a window again and see some shooting stars. Then a red light flashes by, different than the others, and the window opens and they all fall out into a pile of snow. And by this point, like, Pikachu and Chikorita are there too. So they go out to investigate the red shooting star and find Santa Claus, who we also never see the face or head of, because he's another human-ish character. It's Santa Claus, so, I mean, I don't know. At one point, his head is hidden by a tree branch, which I thought was cool. So, like, they, like, zoom out to have a conversation, so you would be able to see, because it's not that far, so you would be able to see his face and everything, but there's a tree branch perfectly in the way.
That's kind of fun.
Kind of reminds me of a show I used to watch, Home Improvement, where there's a guy, the neighbor across the fence, and he's always talking to them from, like, you can never see, like, above or below his nose. You just see, like, his eyes, and he's always got, like, a hat on, I think, too. So, like, you don't see much of him, really, while he's talking to his neighbor and giving him advice. And there's times where he eventually shows up in, like, some other episodes where you see more of him in his house and stuff. But there's always something just in the way of us as viewers that we never get to see the rest of his face. The whole show. It's great. So it turns out Santa Claus's sled is being pulled by a Stantler now instead of Rapidash from the other Santa Claus / Jinx episode.
Well, they were able to change it because
Now they have a Stantler.
it was banned.
Oh, sure. We never saw it, so why not, right?
Yeah.
Except that it wasn't banned in Japan, so... Shh.
Yeah.
But it turns out the Stantler is sick, and Santa is running out of berries that keep the Stantler's fever down. So the gang offer to help find some, but it's dark and they're having trouble. So Pikachu has a light bulb idea in the form of the light-up Christmas star on top of the outdoor tree. And the plan is to get the star to shed some light. Pikachu gets the star on his head and charges it with his own electricity, which causes it to light up. And they go back to looking for some berries. Then they see a mountain where they can look from, and on a ledge near the peak, they find some berries. Togepi gets ready to start climbing up to that little ledge, with no prospect of getting anywhere. And so, Big Brother Pikachu gently moves Togepi back and does the climb himself. He gets a bunch of berries before falling and being caught by both Chikorita and Bulbasaur using their vines.
And I was like, why didn't they use those to put him up there? Like, they could have boosted him up.
Absolutely.
But instead, they made him climb.
And then they return to Santa and Stantler. They give Stantler the berries. Togepi was given one to give to Stantler too, like you would do with a child. You give them something to give to the thing, right?
Yeah.
Because it made Togepi's day, right?
Yeah.
And Santa says Christmas is back on. Then he flies off, because a Stantler can fly, even though most Stantlers I don't think can. The next morning, everyone is excited to get their presents, but, just like in the other Santa episode, no one opens a single one for us to see, so you never know who got who, what they would get them, or anything. And that is our episodes of the anime. That's our anime coverage. We've finished our manga coverage, and so that leaves just one more thing. Pokemon cards. Alright, so this week we are opening, it looks like Temporal Forces and Twilight Masquerade again. I'm doing the Temporal Forces this time with, I think I just learned, Iron Leaves? I think is what it was called.
I always forget this dragon type's name.
I think it's Dragapult. Alright, so my first Pokemon this week is Chatot, a basic type. It mimics the cries of other Pokemon to trick them into thinking it's one of them. This way, they won't attack it. Cottony, a grass Pokemon. Ooh! So, for the longest time, Rosella had a shiny Cottony in Pokemon Go. And not like maybe a week or two ago, I actually caught a shiny Cottony. So now we both have one. Because she would always be like, do you have one of those yet? No, but now I do. It shoots cotton from its body to protect itself. If it gets caught up in hurricane strength winds, it can get sent to the other side of the earth.
That doesn't make sense because the hurricane winds wouldn't go to the other side of the earth.
Hey, just trust it.
Okay.
Carvanha, water type. It won't attack while it's alone, not even if it spots prey. Instead, it waits for other Carvanha to join it, and then the Pokemon attack as a group. Ekans, dark type. The older it gets, the longer it grows. At night, it wraps its long body around tree branches to rest. Electivire evolves from Electabuzz, electric type. The amount of electrical energy this Pokemon produces is proportional to the rate of its pulse. The voltage jumps while Electivire is battling. Cinccino evolves from Minccino, normal type or basic or whatever. Its body secretes oil that this Pokemon spreads over its nest as a coating to protect it from dust. Cinccino won't tolerate even a speck of the stuff. Sableye, dark type. It dwells in the darkness of caves. It uses its sharp claws to dig up gems to nourish itself. Oh. My reverse holo is a Torracat, evolves from Litten, fire type. And I've already read this one. It's the same picture as one I got last week or the week before or whatever. My second reverse holo is another Cottony. Same card I had. So, ooh. And then my double star rare here, which is a secret rare, is Iron Leaves EX Future. Ability, Rapid Vernier. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may switch it with your active Pokemon. If you do, you may move any amount of energy from your other Pokemon to this Pokemon. And then I got a basic fighting energy. I'm excited about this Iron Leaves EX, and I think I got an Iron Leaves last episode or 2 episodes ago. You remember? But it was like a regular Iron Leaves instead of an Iron Leaves EX.
That's cool.
Yeah, super cool. I'm super excited. So what do you got then, Ruby?
My first one's a ducklet, normal type. It's got like the rainbowy body. It strengthens its body by diving into the depths of ponds, swimming around while looking for bog moss to eat. Ninetales evolves from Vulpix, fire type. It has 9 long tails and fur that gleams gold. It is said to live for 1,000.
Whoa.
Lampent evolves from Litwick, fire type. The spirits it absorbs fuel its baleful fire. It hangs around hospitals waiting for people to pass on. Poltergeist, grass type. Abilities, storehouse hideaway. As long as this Pokemon is on your bench, prevent all damage from and effects of attacks from your opponent's Pokemon done to this Pokemon. Poltergeist looks like a regional form of a Sinistea, but it was recently but it was recently discovered that the 2 Pokemon are entirely unrelated.
Interesting.
Hassel, supporter trainer. He has a Ditto, like painting in the background, and and you can see Donphan. Ditto's the full one.
You mean Donaphan? No, I'm just kidding.
You can use this card only if any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn. Look at the top 8 cards of your deck and put up to 3 of them into your hand. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. Ambipom evolves from Apom.
Hey, Bo.
Yep. Normal type. Ability, Wicked Tail. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may flip 2 coins. For each heads, choose a random card from your opponent's hand. Your opponent reveals those cards and shuffles them into their deck. Split into 2, the tails are so adept at handling and doing things that Ambipom rarely uses its hand. And it also has like the rainbowy bottom almost. Brute Bonnet, Dark type, Ancient. It is possible that the creature listed as Brute Bonnet in a certain book could actually be this Pokemon.
What is it?
It looks like one of those like mushroom guys with the Pokemon.
They have an ancient one of those, huh? Interesting.
Yeah.
The Pokeball top mushrooms. What are they called? Oh,
It could be a evolved form of those.
Well, like the ancient and stuff. They're like the different versions, like the Iron Tusk. Okay, or Iron Treads, whatever it is called. But it's like a Mungus, something fungus in a Mungus. I think that might be the name, something like that. I don't know.
My next Pokemon is my reverse hollow. Heloilisk evolves from Helopitol. They're like helicopter.
Helicopter reptiles. Why it's Helioptile.
Yeah. Electric type. A now vanished desert culture treasured these Pokemon appropriately when Helios came to the Galar region. Treasure came with them. Oh, another reverse hollow. Corphish, water type. It can live in impure water where it doesn't need to compete with other water Pokemon for food, so its numbers have steadily increased. Oh, and then my rare is like has a shiny rim or whatever. Monkey Dory, psychic type, ability, Adrena Brain, once during your turn, if this Pokemon has any dark energy attached, you may move up to 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Monkey Cory keeps itself somewhere safe while it toys with its foes using psychicness to induce intense dizziness.
Interesting.
My fighting energy.
Alright, and that's that. So, we'll post pictures of some of the fun ones on our Instagram and X and Facebook group, which, yeah, you can find us at Routes Through Pokemon on Facebook, or on X, I'm on there under Hunterfield Inns, and Instagram, it's kinetic_card. But, yeah, Routes Through Pokemon is a Hunterfield Institute production, and you can reach us by email at hunterfieldmanor@gmail.com. So if you want to get a hold of us, if you have any suggestions for categories, or you think we've missed something, or think we should consider something, go ahead and comment somewhere, or text us, or whatever. We're also on YouTube at Hunterfield Institute. I forgot to mention that, I think, the last couple times. But yeah, next week we will be covering 5 more episodes of the anime, and 3 more chapters of the manga, and then the one after that, we will be back in the game to try to reach the 2nd gym and defeat it. Alright, so we will catch you on the next route. Bye-bye!
Bye!
Part 16. The Brat's Rat.
Alright, now it looks like Pewter City is just straight west from here.
Violet said as she consulted her map.
As long as we don't meet any more trouble along the way, we should be there in no time.
No time is right, as in you'll never make it there. Not if I have anything to say about it. Emerging from the shadows cast by a large cliff was a young man with a backwards baseball cap. He kept tossing a Pokeball up in the air, catching it each time as he walked toward the middle of the path. Once he was directly in Violet's way, he thrust his Pokeball forward in a dramatic pose and said, "I challenge you to a Pokemon battle!" Violet's heart had stopped for a moment or two when she had first heard the voice, fearing that one of the Team Rocket goons had been waiting for her. When it turned out to just be a boy around her own age, she let out a sigh of relief. Relief turned to annoyance, and she rolled her eyes at the boy's challenge.
Look, I don't have time for this right now. I just want to get to Pewter City, and there are the guys.
Ha! If you're too afraid to battle me, what makes you think you can take on a great gym leader like Brock?
What?
Violet blinked her eyes and shook her head.
Afraid? I'm not afraid. I just told you I don't have
Okay,
time.
then prove it. Prove you're not afraid. Shaking her head, Violet moved to walk around the boy, but he slid over to get in her way again.
Isn't it past your bedtime?
The boy looked at her, offended, for just a second, and then he said, "You're the same age. Wouldn't it be past—" Violet capitalized on the distraction and stepped to the right, but quickly shifted to the left and went around the annoying obstacle. Hey! Violet grinned as she ignored the boy and continued walking away. But then she heard him cry out again, and she knew she wasn't going to be rid of him as easily as she hoped. Rattata! Go! Throwing her head back in frustration, Violet turned around and said,
Mizu, bubble.
The horsey leapt down and prepared to spray, but in that time the boy shouted out his own command, Quick attack! The Rattata was suddenly coming in from the side and smacked the horsey. Reeling around, Horsey was able to direct the bubble toward Rattata and still hit the little creature as well.
Okay, there. We battled a little. Can we be...
Quick attack again! Violet groaned in annoyance.
Mizu, return.
A light shone around the horsey and it retreated back into its Pokeball, and then a different Pokemon emerged. The Rattata swiped at the pale Eevee that now stood in Mizu's place.
Quick attack!
Now 2 Pokemon were zooming around, trying to get a hit at one another. The boy's strategy of just using Quick Attack had met its match since V was faster. After a few rounds with the Eevee, the boy's Rattata could barely stand and was breathing hard.
Can we call it now? You're clearly beaten.
It's not fair! You used 2 Pokemon against my 1! Violet cocked an eyebrow.
Not fair? It's not my fault you decided to battle me when you only had 1 Pokemon.
But it's just supposed to be a one-on-one battle!
You never said that. I never agreed to any such thing. In fact, I never even
It doesn't need to be said. Everyone does it that way.
What? No, they...
Violet abruptly closed her mouth when she realized she was caught in a pointless argument, and they were all making a lot of noise when the last thing she wanted was any kind of attention.
V, return.
In a flash, the Eevee was back in its Pokeball, and Violet had turned and started back on her path. Hey, you can't just leave. You owe me.
I don't owe you anything. And I already told you I don't have time for this.
Violet called back. Oh yeah? Well, I'll just...
What? Throw another Pokemon at me? Oh wait, you don't have any more.
He had realized that Violet was right, and there wasn't really anything he could do. She grinned triumphantly, and was more than happy to leave that obnoxious trainer behind. The sense of satisfaction lasted all of about 5 minutes, and then everything was quiet again, and there were many shadows along her path where anyone could be hiding. Every so often she would hear a sound, usually out in some tall grass. Sometimes it was the passing of a Zubat in the night sky. While the boy had been a pest, it would have probably been best for both of them not to be alone out there in the middle of the night, especially her when there were those with ill intent looking for her. Violet was on high alert, a hand always resting on a Pokeball so that she could toss it the instant trouble showed up. She ducked as another Zubat screeched by above, and then something burst right out of a nearby patch of grass. It zoomed straight for the girl. She whipped out the Pokeball, and Mizu launched out to meet the enemy. To be continued.